If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CFs, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
Oh, great. You got a doorbell camera. Now you got a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
No.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Get out of my house!
Ooh, Mom's jewelry. There goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them. With Slogans, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation. Plus, a free doorbell camera.
Free?
One that'll actually work for you. It's not total security unless it's the Sloan Shield. Call 1-800-ALARM-ME.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
We are back! The Squared Circle Digest back here on the Big O Radio Show YouTube channel, and I couldn't be happier. Got a couple of the props up, not the way I want them to be up right now, but you can see the AEW title there, WWE Universal title there. We've got the X Division title and the Ring of Honor title to find homes for, but ultimately they're going to be up on some shelves, but that shelving is taking way too long. And let's see who we already got in here. I'm going to be going back and forth to the chat. There's a couple things I want to go over. No, we haven't talked wrestling in forever. Those that are watching right now, NXT is on the air, just kicking off at 8 o'clock. Boss B in, 2 a time, Cap for Life, Josh. Let's see who else we got. Bromar Smelly, EWD Jr., and then as Boss B says, finally. Yes, the NFL season takes a lot of work. So had to get some family time in when I could, since we were doing 6 days a week. And now Sports Circle Digest is back. And we will run all the way through, probably up till NFL season kicks off again. And then from there, we'll see how it goes. From there, what we might do is just I might spot some shows in when I can record them and just post them up, so we don't have a long drought like we had this time. And then also now we will be adding some indies in here as well. We'll be attending a couple CCW shows that are upcoming. And we've got AEW coming to town, April, I think it's the 26th, I believe it is, something like that, the 16th or 26th. So a lot going on, and I want to thank everybody that has been supporting me. And that's everybody in there. Frankie Fresco just jumped in. Dad, what's up? Terry's in. And again, we'll go back and forth, man. This is an interactive show. We're going to go back and forth. If I'm talking about a subject, jump in there, man. Jump in there. As Cat for Life said, Rick, boo! That man was pumping. I don't know, what the hell is that thing called where you, that little, I don't work out with this stuff, but the little bendy thing that he was doing. He was, I feared yesterday for Elias for a minute there. But a lot going on in the world of pro wrestling. April 26th, Plantation. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's at the FLA Live Arena is where they're running the Dynamite. So interesting. Although they're not doing a Rampage. Usually they use Dynamite and Rampage in the same area. I wonder if they're going to do Rampage maybe in Orlando that weekend. So let's just jump right in right now. We'll talk a little bit of WWE first. And the big thing is the Royal Rumble happened. Of course, that was only 3 weeks ago, and we got a pay-per-view already coming up this Saturday. And in that, it was Cody Rhodes that got the victory in the men's side, and Rhea Ripley in the women's side. Frankie Fresco says they are doing both the same day. Okay, so there's an AEW Rampage and Dynamite. It's a long day. Long day, but hey, it's all good. They usually rush them through pretty quick. Cody wins it, which, you know, again, he was returning. Everybody kind of had it picked. Rhea kind of emerged as the odds-on favorite in the women. I don't think anything there in the Royal Rumble kind of was like, you know, and again, they said they weren't going to go with the old traditional, a lot of, you know, legends coming in and things like that. And they kept it pretty basic. I think what they wanted to have happen was that gasp at the end of the show that they had when Sammy, you know, hit Roman in the back with the chair, and you saw the bloodline kind of start unraveling, and Jay left the bloodline, and, you know, again, now it's building up another. Again, this bloodline thing is actually gone in so many, you know, it's branched off into a couple different areas and ways they could go. You know, and the interesting thing is going into WrestleMania, you know, again, last night, if you watched Raw, you watched Cody come out and, well, Sammy came out, called out Cody, and the last 2 weeks, man, Cody's in whoever he's cut the promo with in the ring has been money for Mania, you know, and the one thing that I find interesting is which way do they go with, you know, Cody, with Sammy, with Roman, with the Usos. You know, there's a couple different ways. This is what I'm going to throw out this and then see what you think here on the chat. I think this is what's going to happen at Elimination Chamber. I think Sami Zayn's going to work it to where he almost has the victory. And then I think Jey Uso is going to come out and cost him. Then I think they're going to be beating him down. And, of course, Kevin Owens comes out to, you know, make the save. And then I believe, and I know what you're saying there, was it Frankie? Frankie's saying the triple threat at Mania. But the one thing that I heard, and I can't drop it, is this. Especially the way that they're doing the Sammy Jey kind of, you know, like best buds. I think Jay's going to turn on Sammy, like I said, at the Elimination Chamber. I think what's going to happen is Kevin Owens is going to make the save, and it's going to be the Usos against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the Undisputed Tag Team titles at WrestleMania. Now, could they do one night, they do that, and the next night, something else? But I just don't feel, and I almost feel like crazy saying this, but like I don't feel that Cody should be the one to beat Roman. And I don't feel that Sami should be the one to beat Roman in a way. I mean, if they work it out to where I just don't think anybody right now can beat Roman clean. I think they've worked up Roman for 2.5, 3 years now as the champion. I just, it's got to be, maybe the whole bloodline turns on Roman and Sami becomes the champion. But then again, you saw on Raw last night, where, Sami says, Jay, I acknowledge you. So ultimately, he's acknowledging him as kind of like to be the tribal chief. And I don't see Jey Uso beating Roman Reigns. So again, this is one of those things where it's very interesting to see how they go with this, because there's so many ways you can go with it. And they're not going to let Roman get beat clean. So, again, that's where the triple threat kind of comes into play, where, that way Roman doesn't have to get pinned to lose one of the titles. Because again, as much as they have worked this up, I don't see Cody leaving WrestleMania without something. And I thought, honestly, what they were doing with the whole Adam Pearce angle, because he was so mad at the Bloodline at one point, I thought he was going to make them defend the Raw Tag Team titles every week, and then make Roman kind of defend the world title, which is, I think, the Raw's title. And then ultimately, they'll lose one, Roman keeps one, however they work it out, there. But right now, it looks like they're going to keep them, an undisputed WWE Universal Champion into WrestleMania. I was hoping they would break up the belts, and then you could have, a crazy amount of things happen. And I was waiting for it, and maybe on SmackDown they do it. Maybe if they take it and they say, it's no longer for the, WWE Undisputed Championship, it's now for the WWE title or just the Universal title. They may end up, again, it's in Sami Zayn's hometown. He's got everything going for him right now. And that's the other part where, with everything they're doing with Cody and with Sami, I don't see Roman just going through them like nothing. They built this whole thing up to almost perfection now. That and the cynical me thinks, okay, it's WWE, they're going to mess it up, because that's what Vince would always do. But so far with there's been a couple hiccups here and there with some of the things that have been going on, but the Bloodline has been the one thing that WWE has seemed to hit on everything. Everything has worked perfectly, whether it's a promo, whether it's, setting up the matches, the KO match, that just happened at Royal Rumble. It was one of those things to where, I didn't think KO was going to win, but I was looking at to see, okay, how do they go about it? And they got me on it, because I didn't think that he was going to be, as clean beating Kevin Owens as it turned out. But then when you watch the whole match play out, and I've watched it again a couple other times, it wasn't the fact that KO and Roman were fighting for the title. The whole thing was Sami Zayn on the outside going through all the emotions, and then at the end was going to have to lay out KO, and he couldn't do it. And then he turned on Roman. So again, I thought they wrote that very well. And then Jay just being like rolling out of the ring, and then he showed up out in the crowd, he came down to defend the titles, and he left again. Sami, meets him, and actually it was SmackDown, I think. It wasn't even Raw, it was SmackDown, I'm sorry. And he met him at the outside in the truck area and was like, I acknowledge you. And now it kind of got me going to another area where is Jay going to be the X factor? in this match. But I almost feel like it's going to be the same thing where Jay's going to have to choose Roman or Sammy, and he's going to choose Roman to everybody's demise, and especially in Montreal. And then there were some things where the Usos might not even be able to travel over to Montreal. At least I think maybe it was just Jimmy. One of them has issues, but apparently all that's been taken care of, and both are clear to travel. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm very interested in seeing. And then I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts here in the chat. You know, I mean, how do you think, best case scenario, how it plays out? And look, we'll just keep it to Elimination Chamber right now. If you want to throw in how you think they lead up to WrestleMania, by all means you can. You can play, you know, matchmaker and everything there as well. But just interested to see how you think this plays out, because I just don't know. You know, you can't just squash Sammy right now. He's on fire. You can't squash Cody because he's on fire. It's going to be very interesting to see what they got. I'm going to go to the chat here real quick before I jump on to the next. Josh says, what do you think about the Rumble? I didn't like Ripley winning it. No, I think it's perfect with Ripley winning it. Who else were you going to have win it, Josh? I don't know anybody else. Becky wins it again, and it's Becky against Charlotte, Becky against Bianca. That's been done. Bayley, same thing. You know, I think Rhea getting into it, and then also there's that little story. Whereas, you know, remember, Charlotte won the Money in the Bank? Or no, it was the Royal Rumble. It was the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, and Rhea Ripley showed up and said, you know, challenged her, and then Charlotte became the NXT champion because she beat Rhea Ripley. So now this is kind of Rhea winning the Royal Rumble and now getting an opportunity to rectify that. So there's been a little bit of a story, you know, brewing if you go back that far, to where, you know, again, it kind of makes a little bit of sense for Rhea Ripley. And then plus, I think, you know, right now, I think she's probably one of the top draws right now with what they're doing with Judgment Day and with her and Judgment Day and all that. So I'm going to, you know, respectfully disagree with that. I liked Ripley winning it, and it's going to be interesting to see. Let's see. Frankie says, Sammy has grown so much on me. I think Sammy's always been good. I just don't know that anybody saw this side of him as far as just being, I mean, you know, like when he was like, you know, he just how do you say it? He lost his Uzi or something, and then that was it, man. I mean, it was almost every week they were going out just trying to make each other, you know, try to find out what they could do to make each other kind of crack under the pressure. Josh, Reigns win by DQ. We'll see. I mean, again, they do that, then it might set up, because I know Cody was on a podcast earlier and said he wouldn't be upset if they did make it a triple threat. So again, could they be gearing toward a triple threat at WrestleMania? Definitely could be, but I think if it does go triple threat, I think Cody's definitely winning the belt. Would it be something if Brody beats Cody at Mania and keeps the title another year going into next year's Mania? To a time, I would not honestly put it by. I mean, I could see Roman winning it, because at this moment right now, I know Cody's got that great story going and everything there, but I just don't know how you slow down Roman. I just don't see that happening. Sean, do you think Cody beats Roman at WrestleMania? Terry, I don't believe so. But I mean, I get it. If you watch everything and all the vignettes and everything like that, Cody's got to win it. Cody's got to finish the story, right? This is the perfect ending to the story. I just don't know how you beat Roman unless you do the triple threat, or you break up the titles. That's the only way I can see. The end of the bloodline has to involve The Rock in some kind of way. I think it's going to involve a lot more than that. I mean, I know if you follow Twitter and Jacob Fatu weighed in on the Jey Uso thing. Lance Anoa'i weighed in. Samu. There was a lot going on Twitter and social media from others in the Samoan dynasty, shall we say, that weighed in on the Jey. I think there's going to be more layers added, honestly, to the bloodline, and we'll see where it goes. But I mean, I think if The Rock, I just don't know that he comes in and is like, ultimately here it is. The Rock showed up at WrestleMania. It wasn't for Roman, to lose to him. It was to cement him as the head of the table. You know what I'm saying? He was going to probably beat The Rock and become the head of the table. That's that passing, if you want to call it the Samoan torch from The Rock to Roman Reigns. It wasn't like The Rock was going to come in and, rock bottom Roman Reigns and pin him in 37 seconds and then they set up for another match. I mean, hey, you never know. It's happened before. But I just can't think with right now, as hot as Roman Reigns is, with the bloodline the way it is going right now, I don't see that. And I just don't know if The Rock adds the end of the bloodline. I think it continues the bloodline. It actually, will help Roman solidify that. At least that's my take on it. I could see Solo as a champ, but how could he get into title contention? He'd have to break away from the bloodline. And again, if you watch it, and again, this is the one thing where in this angle, if you watch Solo Sikoa's facial expressions, when Roman kind of treats him like, like he's just a muscle, like he has no brains. It's like, yeah, you do that. You'll see him kind of look at him and glance over at him every once in a while. Kind of like, you know what? At some point, I can see him being like, you know what? Enough is enough. And again, it could all unfold at Elimination Chamber, and it's going to be very interesting because the more I think about it, the more I talk it out, and the more, there's so many ways they can go. Jay turning on him, right? Jay and Jimmy, Jimmy going with his twin brother. And remember, Jay, Jimmy, and Solo are all brothers. So, again, do they make that the bloodline? And then Roman gets put out? I've seen, there's been people that said, what if the whole thing, because remember, Paul Heyman cut that promo on when they were doing the trial of Sami Zayn, right? And he just blew Sami up and out of the water. Sami Zayn comes up and he says, you know what, if you want to believe all that, I have nothing to say. And he said, you're not even going to defend yourself? Solo, take him out. And then Jay stopped Solo from doing the Samoan spike. But there was a thing that came out online, and I started thinking, I was like, an interesting little nugget is, Brock Lesnar was considered unbeatable, right? Then he left. Roman came in. Paul Heyman went with Roman. The bloodline started. He kind of turned his back. They did the angle back and forth with Roman and Brock, and then ultimately Paul Heyman sides with Roman, and Roman, comes out on top. What if all this is, Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman pulling a rouge on Roman Reigns? Because if you watch, sometimes there feels like Heyman's pulling little strings like a puppeteer on certain things. Like he said, you guys aren't needed in Montreal. You can stay home because you can see more on TV than what you see, ringside. There's just a lot of little things and a lot of where you're just kind of like, okay, all right, I thought it was going to go this way. And that's what makes, I think, this angle so attractive and intoxicating to, wrestling fans, is because it really is, you don't know what they're going to do next. You don't, in a way. You're like, I think they're going to go this way. But they could surprise you, So it's a lot of things going on. Let's see here. Boss B says, I know it's off subject. What about FTR coming back? Their contracts are up in April. Interesting thing, Dax posted something yesterday. He took a picture of the table, and on the table, if you look in the left corner, perfectly placed, you can see the bottom of the WWE logo, and it's paper. And then the tweet is deleted. Take it for what it is. It's it's wrestling. I could see FTR coming back if Triple H stays in power. Triple H doesn't stay in power, and again, I get it. Right now, everything is smooth and everything's running great. As far as with Vince staying kind of out of the way, except he's up in the corporate bubble there. But I could possibly see FTR coming back. And one of the things that WWE did, when the Good Brothers came back, and a little interesting nugget that Sean Ross Sapp shared on the Life of Matt Hardy podcast was that when FTR signed their deals, if WWE is not using them, they're not getting flown in. They don't have to be in town. Something a little different. Usually they fly a lot of the talent in, and then some will work and some won't, and then they go on their day. But they have in their contracts that if they're not going to be used, they're basically not going to be brought in. They're not going to be brought into that town or booked for that night if they're not being used. So, and then also with the AJ Styles injury, it's going to be interesting to see what and where they go with the Good Brothers. But I could see FTR come back, but also I could see them staying 100% with AEW. I mean, look what they did this year with AEW. I mean, not necessarily AEW, but because they were with AEW, they were able to go to AAA and win the titles, New Japan and win the titles. They got the Ring of Honor tag team titles. At one point, they were the AEW, tag team champions. So they had a lot of freedom, and that's kind of what they want to do. They want to wrestle more, and they did that this year. So we'll see. I mean, it's all going to come down to with FTR. It's not really so far. It hasn't been about the money, but if they want to make more money, and WWE will give them a contract to work maybe less dates for more money, I could see them going back. Again, it's like in the NBA and NFL, you want to have maybe one more big money deal before you head on out into the sunset. So I could see them possibly going back, getting because I think they turned down $750,000 a year, $750,000 a year when they left and went to AEW. So gotta believe they'll come back for more than that now, and that'll be very interesting to see what they do there. Cap for Life says Gunther needs to lose, bro. That dude don't look right. But see, I think Gunther is the perfect person to have for the Intercontinental Champion right now. He's bringing back prestige to that belt, and watching him defend it and everything there. They got the little big push during the Royal Rumble. Came in as number 1, and he was the last person Cody eliminated. Again, Gunther, and he's lost a lot of weight. If you ever go look up online and look up Gunther, or what was he before Gunther? Jeez. Oh, now I'm drawing a blank. Oh. Man. If you look him up, though, they have old pictures. He's lost so much weight and has gotten in pretty good, decent shape right now. Do you think they're going to Uso versus Uso story and Naomi going to come back? To be honest, I heard Naomi might end up in AEW. I think the Mercedes Moné or whatever, Sasha Banks, whatever you want to call her, I think that kind of messed up Naomi a little bit. But I just don't see them doing, brother versus brother right now. I mean, I think Jay and Jimmy will probably stick together whichever way they go. But I don't see them turning on each other. But hey, you know what? With this story, they could do it. You could do it, definitely. You know what? One of the things you could do is turn them fighting each other and have Naomi come back to bring them back together. That could possibly be something in the that could work out. But we'll have to see, man. That's what makes this angle so good. There's so many layers they can just keep peeling and be like, oh, we can do this, oh, we can do this, oh, we can do that. And it happened, I think, almost honestly by a mistake. Because I don't think anybody thought the Sami Zayn thing was going to work the way it has. To where now it has become, a byproduct of what you can do now because of what happened when Sami Zayn joined the bloodline. Sammy Uso, the honorary Uso and all that. I don't think anybody thought that they were going to, that was going to take off like it did. And when it did, beautiful. Let's see. Capital F says Mysterio storyline needs a new life. Yeah, I think they're trying to drag it out to where it's Dom against Ray at WrestleMania, so it's father versus son. And, it is what it is at this point. It's just trying, I believe they're trying to get to, because you don't want them to, again, they showed at the Royal Rumble, Rey Mysterio's music hits. He never comes out. All of a sudden, Dominic comes out. He's wearing his mask and all that stuff. So we'll see where they go from there. But I just don't see. I don't see them having a match unless it's at WrestleMania. Frankie says, I'm not a fan of Gunther. He's not. Look, man. He's an acquired taste, but I think he brings prestige that was needed to an Intercontinental title that was being destroyed when Vince McMahon was running it. Excuse me real quick. Man, sorry about that. Sneak Attack 305, I can see where Heyman and Solo turn Roman. Yeah, honestly, it's almost to where you could see anybody in the bloodline right now being the one to stab Roman in the back, right? It could be Solo, Jay. I guess you don't really see Jimmy right now as that person, but I think everybody else could be. And Heyman's just that little weasel that you just expect him to do it. Why John Cena come back to team with Kevin Owens? Never understood that tag. Cat for Life was just so John Cena could have a match. Then basically he had one match in WWE for the last 20 years. And it just so worked out to where they were able to say it was the last Raw. It was basically the last live show for WWE for Cena to have that, and they were able to work it in. You saw what they did, right? He basically stayed out on the apron until the finish. He wasn't ready to do anything. So is Vince back to being the boss in WWE? Operation-wise, corporate-wise, I should say, yes. He is running the whole trying to find a buyer or however you want to see or whatever there. And all it is because he's just protecting his own ass. He owns the most shares in the company, so of course he's gonna try to get the most money. It behooves him to get a good deal because all of his shares will be perfect, right? And then bam, he just keeps the money off into the sunset. Terry says, Sean, do you think Logan Paul against Seth Rollins will be at WrestleMania? Yes. Yeah, I think that it's very interesting too because when you look at it, I'm trying to figure out which the celebrities. And again, I understand Logan Paul is. I think he signed a WWE contract, so technically he's a WWE superstar. But I think he's more of a celebrity when you look at it. And so, I think that's going to be, Seth Rollins against Logan Paul. Supposedly they asked Stone Cold. Stone Cold said no. So it's going to be interesting to see how this WrestleMania plays out. But again, they had 3 weeks to build up the Evolution, which is Saturday. And now they have 6 weeks. 6 weeks to build up to WrestleMania weekend, April 1st. So plenty of time between now and then. I think you saw Lita and Becky come in. I think you're going to start seeing it. The word I heard was it's going to be Becky, Lita, and Trish against Damage Control. That's going to be another one of the matches that will probably get added, which will have, kind of the legend celebrity feel at WrestleMania. Josh, is AEW going down little by little? We're going to talk about AEW in a minute. Josh and I think we might be on the same. Walter, Thank you, to a time. Walter. Was Vince still running creative when Sammy joined Bloodline? I think he was. Let me see. When did Sammy join Bloodline? When was that? Cameron, I will say, I believe in the infancies, I believe it did start possibly with Vince still running creative. Or I think at the time they were teasing. I think he was trying to join the Bloodline. I believe that was right at the end when Vince stepped down and Triple H started taking over, and then he became the honorary Oos and everything from there. I believe is how it worked out. Jeff Hardy's one of my faves when I was younger. Is there any updates on his health and possible return? No, and I listened to the Life of Matt Hardy podcast, and he just says he's doing good. He's trying to work through everything and this, and I think that's probably the best thing Jeff Hardy should do. Not worry about coming back, not worrying about anything else. He just needs to worry about himself at this point and get himself right, and then possibly try to come back. Because also, I think one of the problems is I think he's done so much to his body that it ends up being self-medication. And I think that's where a lot of his issues have come from. Because, I mean, you can only do that for so long. You can only, throw yourself off ladders and throw, the swanton. I know everybody's like, using the fake word and this and that, but it still takes damage on your body. And that's your finishing move, night in and night out doing it. Look at that. Hogan had to have a hip surgery because he dropped the leg drop so much, because that was his finishing move. Think about that. He had to have leg surgery because he was so big at 300, and I think he was built at like 307 or something like that at the time. Probably got heavier than that, maybe a little lighter at the end. But because he was dropping the leg drops and the way he would come down on his back and his hips, it messed up his back and his hips. That's just doing a leg drop. Now you're jumping, 15, 18 feet. And then you're coming off ladders. You're going through tables. You make your living off TLC matches. I mean, it takes a toll on your body, man. It's not just something that just, goes away. Vince fan from Cali. Do you think Stone Cold will make an appearance at WrestleMania? I know he's worked out. Everybody's saying no, but I don't know if that's just to throw everybody off, because he's been working out. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and I will never say no, but I would say it's probably 55% right now, 60% he won't. But I would never say never on anything in pro wrestling. Logan Paul is way better than Dominic, bro. Everybody's. Dominic's best thing going right now is the fact that he's, a convict dom or whatever the hell he's doing now with this thing. That works for him. Just let him be the talker. Make it, like he's this big, tough guy, and he's really nothing. Two at a time says, I was happy to see Chelsea Green return to WWE. I kind of like her Karen character, but I hope she's more than a jobber. See, here's the thing, though. I think with that gimmick, I think she can only be a jobber. As a Karen, you're gonna, everything's gotta happen to you or be perceived to happen to you, right? Oh, I didn't win the title because of whatever. So I think ultimately, everybody's gonna look at it as a jobber, but that's almost like the gimmick now. That's her gimmick. It was like Barry Horowitz, his gimmick was always like, he pat himself on the back as doing a great job, but what happened in the end? He always got beat. He never won. Sean, do you think MVP will reform the Hurt Business and add Omos? My thinking is 100%, and I think at this time, if they do it, it's very interesting. And I'm going to try to get some more info if I can. I don't know if they'll let me know. But I think you're going to see Bobby Lashley kind of be the Ric Flair, the champion. Omos be the enforcer. You know, your Sid Vicious, what they have back, that Barry Windham, your Lex Luger's, your the big muscle of the group, and then you got Shed and Shelton as your tag team. But also, don't forget, there's Carmelo Hayes down in NXT. I would love to see him be brought in. And there was talk of adding, Street Profits and making it kind of like the Hurt Business kind of being like a nation again. Like the Nation of Domination back in the day, which had, let's see, it was Ron Simmons, Farouk at the time, Godfather, D-Lo, The Rock came in. I think they had Ahmed Johnson in it for a couple sips of tea. And I think that's kind of what you're going to see kind of form there. I believe, because, and maybe, you know what it might be? They might end up breaking up the Street Profits. And Montez Ford goes one way, and you'll see Dawkins, I believe, join, like that, the Nation type of thing, and change and become his own. Because you're seeing kind of, Montez Ford's always been the high flyer, the guy getting all the moves, but now you're starting to see Dawkins kind of turn a little bit more aggressive as a performer. So it'll be interesting to see, and I hope they do take that, in various different directions. Sean, you think of Adam Cole's return being as a face? Let me get to that in 1 minute. I'm going to jump to AEW as soon as we finish these last couple questions. Triple H screwed up. He should have set up a Valentine's Day romance match between Otis and Doudrop. Well, no, the Doudrop is no more now. It's Piper Niven. And I think that's what they do. And then now Otis, again, I think Vince had the idea that he didn't like Otis the comedian. Remember, what was it? Was it last year or the year before? Otis won the Money in the Bank. And then he lost it in a match on Raw, setting up for Austin Theory. Or no, the year before, maybe Austin Theory won it this year. Vice versa, flip it back. It was the same year that when they did it at the Titan, at the WWE headquarters, Otis won. And I think when you saw what they were doing with Maximum Male Models, I think you saw him do the worm the other day. That's the first time we've seen him do that in a while on TV. You saw him last night eating a hot dog. I think you're starting to see that come back. That's what you need from Otis. Oh, to me, he just does not look like Bronson Reed is the killer guy. You look at him and you're like, that guy is going to kick my ass. You look at Otis and he's like the guy that you can have fun with sitting at the bar and just cracking jokes. I'm saying, look, if you piss him off, he'll probably break your leg and eat it in front of you. But when you look at the two big guys, I believe Vince McMahon saw Otis and said, big guy has to be monster. And that's not Otis to me. I like Otis being, what they did with the Mandy Rose thing and all that. That's Otis to me. Bronson Reed is the monster. So I think now they're trying to get him back to where he's back to being more comedic, I believe. I hope, because I don't like this Otis. I don't, but this doesn't come to me. Let's see. Fans count over under 15 matches on the WrestleMania. Was that WrestleMania 1 show? 15 matches per show or 15 matches total, Vince Van Cali? You can just clarify that for me. Let's see where we at here. Why does it always feel that WWE has no idea how to use Corbin? They just need to bring him. I think what you're going to end up doing is they're going to bring him back to the lone wolf days, and that's what you're going to get. Because also the problem is now is you've used them so many times, and every time it just kind of hasn't worked out, right? It just you kind of lose. They lost the interest in them. I don't think that pairing up with JBL was ever going to work. I don't. I think the best time they had with him was when he lost his money. And then he was like, you know, down on his luck and everything else. I think that was when fans were relating to him a little bit more. They probably should have stretched that out a little bit more before he hit the lotto, or hit the jackpot in Vegas. But you know what? It is what it is. Tour time. Okay, no, yeah, that's the time I liked as well. Capital said they just showed Dom and Rhea attack Ray and his wife again at a Valentine's dinner. Why are they always messing with Ray? I mean, it's. I don't understand. And I'm guessing that's on like a WWE exclusive on like the social media or something. Or I'm watching NXT and I don't even know if that's what it was there or not. But so I'm watching every once in a while. Will the Bloodline as a faction go down in history like NWO, Bullet Club, DX? You know what? I don't think that it will. I don't think it will. I think the angle will go down as a great angle, but the group collectively, I don't think it will. But again, NWO as a whole, terrible. But when you throw in Hall, Hogan, Nash, and then Bischoff, like the original NWO, remember not when it got to 175 people, like when the whole roster was in the NWO. The Bullet Club is one of those that is, you know, again, it's kind of like an underground phenom, right? Bullet Club. It's one of those things where DX was money behind it and pushed it, and it's always been there. The Horsemen, you know, when you start looking at those groups and things like that, I don't see Bloodline going down as a faction like that. But I think the Bloodline angle will go down as a major angle in pro wrestling. Otis and Chad Gable need more airtime, bro. Yes, Alpha Academy. But I think they're going to end up taking Otis away from Gable. So we'll see. Best part of the attack was when Dom was telling Rhea they learned how to make wine in prison. That's what I'm saying with Dom. It's like, you just got to let him do his talking, man. Let him do his talking, and then when he gets his ass beat, you're like, yes, okay. I want him to get his ass beat. He almost reminds me, and you have to think back to, anybody that's watched Texas wrestling, I look at like, because Michael Hayes did back it up sometimes, but he used to talk so much shit that when the Von Erichs would just start beating the shit out of him, you'd be like, yes, perfect. And then all of a sudden, Gordy would come down and make the save, or, you know, he'd always get saved. And I think that's what they need to keep doing with Dom. Let him get thrown around a little bit, but then he slides away and he slithers out of the ring. He talks his talk, and then he gets beat up, and then he slides out. That's kind of what I think Dom needs to be right now, at least leading up into WrestleMania. And then, you know, when he gets in with Ray, I'm sure Ray's going to put him over, but I'm sure there's going to be some stuff from, you know, Judgment Day or somebody to help him get the victory. Let's see. Cat for Life. Otis and Chad doing Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley was awesome. They're great together. I just don't see them bringing both of them maximum male models. Maybe, maybe not, but we'll see. All right, I think I got everybody up in the chat. So let's jump over now. Let's talk a little bit of the other company, of course, which is the great AEW, All Elite Wrestling. As was said in the comments, let me try to find out who that was. Sneak Attack 305 said, what do you think of Adam Cole's return being as a face? I think you have to bring him back as a face right now. What else are you going to do with him? You can't bring him back as a heel, because right now the best thing you have going on your TV is your heel champion. So I think ultimately the best thing they're doing the best thing they can for him right now. And what's interesting is I don't know, they're doing a lot of these vignettes. I don't know what they're building up for. I don't know what the big match is going to be for Adam Cole. I keep thinking about it. I'm like, what's going to be? The only thing I can think of is, again, they got the Iron Man match coming up at their next pay-per-view with Danielson and MJF. If for some reason MJF beats down Danielson and then Cole comes out and becomes the next threat for MJF. But I really think that's too soon for a guy that's been gone for 5-6 months when you have everybody else on the roster, going. But again, this is one of the things I was talking about is, when you look at this AEW roster, and somebody said up at the top, AEW is going down little by little. Josh, is AEW going down little by little? I think there are days where it appears that some of that they're barely getting to 1 million so far. They've gotten to 1 million at one point, and it got so bad that this last AEW show, they started at 1 million. They ended at 778,000 viewers for their tag team title match, which AEW lost to the Guns, which I think is a crock of shit. That is amazing to me that the Guns win the titles. And I get it. They're probably, and this is where somebody asked me about FTR. Remember, the Guns were feuding with FTR before they left. They always ended off, top guns out or whatever the hell they say. Top guys out, or I don't think they said top guys. The Guns, I mean. I'm not talking about FTR. No, FTR says that. But the Guns are saying something. Now they win the titles. Now everybody's like, well, they won the titles so that FTR can come back and win the titles from them. But you had a perfect opportunity, and I get it. I understand. The scissor me daddy ass is making money hand over fist. I get all that. But you had Billy Gunn there. He slides in the ring. You have, at the time Anthony Bowens was laid out, you had, I believe it was Austin Gunn in the corner. He pulls the belt. And at that point, that's where you could have made the move right there and had the Gun Club, dad choose his sons. And then at least, the Guns is your damn tag team champions with all the damn tag teams you had in AEW. The Guns are your representation. This is the standard bearer of our tag team division. Austin and Colton Gunn. God damn, man. Come on. If you would have turned daddy ass and, and then, he went back to kind of like his DX mode, Billy Gunn mode, I think then you've got something to build on. But what do you do now if you're the Acclaim? What, you fight them in the pay-per-view and you win the titles back? And now if you change, and then if you go to the pay-per-view and then daddy ass turns, another bullshit, man. That's bullshit booking. You should have done it right there, just done it, and then, moved on, or however you want to do it. But I just think that one of those, to me, it's terrible, man. Terrible. Yeah, they're doing a Von Erich movie. Actually, MJF is playing Lance Von Erich in the movie. Sean, who's going to be the one to take the title off MJF? Dude, Jerry, honestly, right now, man, if you would have asked me 2-3 months ago, I would have been like, if they keep pushing Wardlow the way they were, but they derailed him like a freaking train. They killed MJF. They killed Wardlow. Wardlow could have been the one if you want to work the whole story out, kept the TNT title, built him up even more, keep building them. You got MJF staying over here. They end up leveling off, and they end up colliding. That is who I could have seen take out MJF. But right now, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know who you sit there and say, that guy is going to dethrone MJF, because MJF is money right now. Who do you have as a face that can do that? What? What are you going to do? Darby Allin? Orange Cassidy? Jungle Boy Jack Perry? Put another title on Samoa Joe? Claudio? I don't think you have a face right now that's there. I mean, I like what they did with Takeshita. I love what they did with that match. I thought MJF and him had a great match, and it did build him up. It did build up, Takeshita to have, a nice start, a nice base to where, you can believe in him. Now, where they go from there, I don't know, but MJF can have a great match with anybody. You saw it in that match. He can do, high risk maneuvers. He can do stuff off the ropes. He chooses not to. So it'll be interesting. But right now, I don't think that person's there unless they build Wardlow back up or something. But I think they crushed that already out of the. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly turn on the Bucks to set up the Bucks run with Kenny Omega in the 3-man titles. Will Cole reunite with the Bucks after he did that to them. Dude, with the way the Bullet Club and the Elite and all that stuff works, I can see you running that back. I can see that happening. I don't know necessarily if that's, what they feel is best for what they want to do, but I could definitely see that. I just don't know how soon Kyle O'Reilly's coming back from injury. Because you'd see Adam Cole and maybe Kyle O'Reilly team back up or something and work at things, but we'll see. AEW only have a handful of good, I think you're supposed to say good tag team groups. They do now, but before, dude, you had the Young Bucks, you had FTR, you had Jurassic Express, you had the Acclaimed, you had, the Guns aren't bad, but to say they're your standard for your tag team division, yikes, man, yikes. I think that's the part where you have to reevaluate, what you're doing. And again, I get it. They lost FTR. The Elite is the Young Bucks is doing a thing with the Trios title. But you haven't used, the Lucha Brothers. You haven't used them in a while. I haven't seen them, except when they were doing the Trios. There's got to be ways to do it. But to me, to say that the Guns, and I get it, they re-signed and all that stuff, but to put the titles on them, I thought was, I don't know. You could have done it better, maybe. Maybe that's what I'm more upset about is the way they did it, the way they put the titles on them. AEW has zero character development. The MJF storyline is pretty much the same storyline as MJF Jericho. Needs to develop some better stories. Yeah, I don't know if they have zero character development because I've watched Darby Allin become, something. I've watched, Jack Perry. And again, I pick on them earlier about some of the things, but they have, Ricky Starks. And that's my next question. That's why I just saw it there. But there's guys that have had character development. Hell, even QT Marshall, when you watch them, now is it main event, character development? No, but they've had good character development for their characters. I agree with you on their storylines. Some of their storylines you can start, it's like they plug and play, different people into the storylines. I agree with that. They've got to figure out a better way of doing that. 100%, I agree with that. But I think the character development, Powerhouse Hobbs, I like the way they're doing him. I think they're maybe slow crawling it a little bit too much. I think they should give him a little bit more elevation. But again, at this point right now, is Powerhouse Hobbs going to beat MJF? Is Powerhouse Hobbs going to be that next face of AEW to where they got to collide right now. So I think you can take it slow on some of these guys because you do have your Danielsons, you have your Claudios, the Wheeler Yutas, some of the younger guys that have been around for a while. So Powerhouse Hobbs, you can kind of build and feed him the stuff. But I think he definitely needs to get a little bit more TV time, even if it's the squash matches. Put him out there, just let him squash people slowly but surely. Give him 2 minutes of TV time, but you keep seeing Powerhouse Hobbs over and over and over. And I think that'll eventually help him out. Let's see. Terry said, Sean, how about Ricky Starks for a title? And Sneak Attack said, I see Ricky Starks eventually taking the belt from MJF. If they keep him on the path he is on now, I can see that because I believe right now Chris Jericho is kind of the guy that kind of gets everybody ready for the title run. So I can see that kind of happening as we go. So yeah, I can go with that. The Living Legend Larry Zbyszko will be in St. Louis this Saturday. Oh, that would be good. That's a great mind, man. He's a great wrestling mind. Maybe Wardlow loses the TNT Championship and they do MJF. No, he's already lost the TNT title. He lost it a while ago. And then Samoa Joe choked him out and then cut his hair. And then now he's back to, he's going to do a sit down, I think, tomorrow. But I mean, they went from Wardlow being this badass, coming out looking almost like the reemergence of the Goldberg character to he's choked out, his hair's cut, and everything else there. So, I mean, again, my problem with AEW, and it goes the same thing with their women's division. Their women's division, I mean, I think right now Britt Baker was a champion. I loved it then. You got Jamie Hayter as a champion. I think she's a great champion. I just don't know, Jade Cargill. They got to start elevating some of them to where there's newer matchups. I'm tired of seeing the same matchups, and then now you do the Saraya and Tony Storm where, it's the they're trying to do the outsiders type thing where they're not from AEW. Well, guess what? Most of these women didn't make their names in AEW. I mean, honestly, the only ones that have made their names in AEW would be Cargill. I guess you could say Britt Baker in a way. I mean, but she did it also on the independent scene. Hayter was also under a deal with WWE Developmental. I mean, when you start looking at things, like when you run that type of angle, it's like, some of the stuff doesn't make a lot of sense. But what are they going to do with Jade Cargill? She's just too big for the other. No, but see, the thing is Jade Cargill. What my worry was with Jade Cargill was, again, they're doing this whole thing where it's 50-0, 50-0, 50-1. And they did the same thing with Goldberg, and he got to 100 and forgot what it was when Kevin Nash beat him, but it was 170 something. It was like 178 or something, and then he loses to Kevin Nash because Scott Hall hits him with the stun gun and all that stuff. Then he loses, and then what happened to Goldberg after that? I mean, I get it. His career didn't, but that gimmick, it just doesn't work. You don't have the days where you go undefeated all the time. Because, again, she hasn't elevated. She hasn't ever worked against Britt Baker. She hasn't worked against Jamie Hayter. She hasn't gone against Saraya. I don't think she's gone against Sheeta. They've always been giving her the same Red Velvet again and Willow Nightingale. And again, nothing wrong with them. They're great performers. But again, if you want to elevate her, it's the same thing as Bill Goldberg. I mean, you fed them all these guys and then you made it up. Like, I remember one Nitro, he was 37-0, and then he came back and he was 61-0. So in 7 days, he won 14 matches. I'm not sure which area he's fighting in, but it's a little difficult to do. But again, it's one of those things. Let's see. Is AEW bringing Sasha Banks or Mandy Rose? I don't know Mandy Rose. I mean, think about this. She made over $1 million in 1 month on her. It's not an OnlyFans. It's whatever the other thing is. She made that in 1 month in December after she got fired. $1 million. You're coming back for this? If you're making that, I get it. She's making that because of, probably, what everybody saw there. But again, if you're producing that kind of content and you're making that money, but again, if she comes back, it's probably going to be with AEW because WWE will not let her do the third whatever person, networking stuff. So she's not going to get rid of it. AEW doesn't seem to mind. So, if she comes back, I would think Mandy Rose would be AEW because she's not going to give up that much money. And if she only has to wrestle on Wednesday nights, she flies out Tuesday, wrestles Wednesday, home Thursday. You still have all the other time for content. So I could definitely see that happening. The other thing I want to talk about looks like Ring of Honor, their tapings are going to be February 25th and 26th. It's going to be in Orlando. Beyond Wrestling had booked Willer Yuta, Willow Nightingale, and a couple of other performers that normally are on Ring of Honor. They pulled out. Willow Nightingale is staying on the card, but everybody else that is associated with Ring of Honor. So nothing's been set in concrete, but it looks like those are going to be the dates for the first set of Ring of Honor tapings. In New Japan Pro Wrestling over the weekend, Jay White lost a Loser League Japan match to, I'm going to mess his name up, Hikuleo. But he is competing at the NJPW Battle in the Valley on February 18th. That's in the United States. He's no longer in Japan. It was a Loser League Japan match, but he's still fighting for New Japan February 18th here in the States. He does want to come back to the States. Apparently he had good talks with WWE. He's had good talks with AEW, and he's had good talks with Impact, and he's been on a few of the AEWs and the Impacts. So no telling what's going to happen there with Jay White, but that would be another, Bullet Club member coming in. Does he come in with Adam Cole? We were talking about it earlier with Adam Cole. Jay White, does that bring another, again, that's another name elevated up. Jay White against MJF. There's a couple different ways they could go. QT Marshall signed like a deal with CCW. It appears CCW will be like an NXT for AEW. I'll have to look into that, Frank. I don't know, because I know QT has his school, the Nightmare. Well, it's Cody's school, but QT's the main coach there at the Nightmare Factory. So I know they have been kind of the feeder out. Now, will some of that talent perform at CCW? I can see that. Just like what happened with NXT and Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. NXT is sending down performers to Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's promotion, to have, to get some ring time and things like that, and also to, develop some of the talent that's down there. I can see that happening as well. I don't know that CCW is going to be an NXT for AEW because I feel like that's what their Ring of Honor is, honestly. We'll see what happens there. The NWA pay-per-view over the weekend also. Tyrus beat Cardona. Bully Ray got involved, and looks like it might be Tyrus against Bully Ray. Then on Sunday, the NWA heavyweight title was on a commercial during the Super Bowl, so that got a lot of little press for him. And then I don't know how many have seen it, but Kevin Kiley took on EC3 and he face-planted a dive. He hadn't wrestled in 6 years. Thought it was a great idea to try to do a plancha. And looked like he hit the rope and they face-planted out into the concrete. So let me see, make sure my notes here. And then also I'd be remiss, RIP to Jerry Jarrett, the father of Jeff Jarrett. He also, the Memphis Territories, as well as, he helped launch TNA in 2002 with Jeff. So he will he'll be sadly missed. He passed away at the age of 80. right, let's see here. Neilio, the owner of CCW, said to Zaslow in his show last week. Oh, okay. All right. Listen, man, I know I have talked with Dan Evans, and I haven't talked to him in a little while, so I'm out of the loop. I'm just saying, normally they don't use, like, unless they can control. Now, again, if CCW signed control over to, you know, to AEW, and that's what they're going to do, because let me tell you something, man. When you go to NXT, and like I went to FCW, it's they teach the way to wrestle in WWE. So if you're going to tell me CCW now, their training is going to be, okay, this is how AEW does it, and they're doing all that, then, you know, then, hey, you know, all for it. I mean, hopefully, I mean, those guys in CCW deserve some, you know, I know Gangrel's down there working with them. I know Alex Chamberlain and some of those guys are there. I know the men and women are busting their ass in that school. So they get some notoriety there with AEW and get that stuff. I know a lot of them have been doing dark and stuff, especially when it's here in Orlando and that stuff there. I mean, I'm all for it. I hope it is that way. I just know that when you start saying they're going to be a NXT for them, like that's NXT is taught to wrestle the WWE way. So if that's what they're going to do, and that's what AEW is going to do, then that's going to change some things. Because, you know, like there's a reason NXT is not allowed to travel outside the Florida Loop right now. They'll go and do a show, a pay-per-view here and there, but they're not doing the whole national loop or anything like that because of you know, the reasoning they try to keep, you know, the talent doing the WWE thing, but pull it back to where you don't get to see them. Because I saw, and this is another thing I wanted to bring up too, and I don't know if anybody saw this. Rey Mysterio was on social media for not signing some like Funko Pops and all this stuff. Some guy at the airport had like a whole tray of Funko Pops for him to sign with arrows where to sign and all this stuff. You know, like they can't do that. They can sign one piece of paper. Like they're not allowed to sit there and sign. Like I don't understand what people. And then everybody's like, oh, not everybody, but there are people like, oh, Rey Mysterio being mean to the fans. No, those are resellers. Those aren't damn fans. They're trying to make money. You're catching a guy at an airport at 6 o'clock in the morning to sign 30-something Funko Pops, and you get mad because he doesn't want to sign any? WWE does not allow them to sign that stuff. WWE gets paid by people to have them show up to sign stuff. That's how WWE makes money. You think they will, you know, you guys go to the airport and sign whatever you want. No. It's a damn business. It's just hilarious to me. I saw it and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, please smash the like button. Thank you, Jaime. They're getting those CCW wrestlers moving to AEW Dark. Yeah, no, I mean, but again, I saw Frank Stone, you know, he wrestled on the show in San Antonio, or what was the last show they just did? He was in some of those shows. So, you know, and then also he's not going to sign any of the Funko Pops. He can't sign anything that can be resold. He can sign blank pieces of paper. Like I mean, like it's just amazing to me because when I saw it, I was like, what the hell? And it's this guy, he's holding a tray. It's just got Funko Pops with the little blue arrows on where he wanted him to sign it. And he's like, oh, you're not going to sign it for me, Ray? Oh, I'm not going to sign it for you. I get paid money to do this stuff. I'm not going to do it for free. That's what I don't understand some of this stuff. It's like, you know, I mean, it's one of the, look, I mean, if you want an autograph and you're a fan and it's a kid, yeah, I'm sure you're going to sign a poster for a kid. But he's not going to sign something from, you know, some 40-year-old guy that's got a whole bunch of Funko Pops. But So if you've got anything else to me, don't forget to follow me on social media at Sean_Stanley11. I'm going to be trying to throw out some, I'll probably start doing little shorts and YouTube shorts and different things like that. Just when news breaks, since we're only doing this on Tuesdays nights at 8 o'clock, we'll be here. And then debating on whether Saturday to do anything before the Elimination Chamber. Would you guys want to do a show and talk Elimination Chamber? It's Saturday at 7 o'clock. So I'd probably go about 6 o'clock because their show starts at 7, leading into the pay-per-view and things like that. So we'll see what events you're trying to go to. I'm going to be going to a lot of them. I'm going to touch base with them and see which events I can get to for CCW. I'm going to start networking a little bit more now that football season's kind of over and I have some time. I'd like to get some interviews, conduct some interviews, maybe get someone to call in, promote shows, and things like that. So I'd like to work, a little bit hand in hand with them and see what happens. And we'll go from there. Hold on a moment. Sorry about that. All right, any opinion on Bray Wyatt's storyline? I like it. It's different. Not everybody's cup of tea. The pitch black match was probably Mountain Dew threw a bunch of money at him. And they said, you know what we can do? We can make the ropes Mountain Dew green. We can have LA Knight glow in the dark. And we can do all this stuff and make it happen. And that's what you get. I mean, I just think it's an interesting to the way that you don't get a lot of that, like that storyline. I mean, with Bray Wyatt right now, what do you think? I'll ask you guys, where do you think it's heading for WrestleMania for Bray Wyatt? Because I had an idea, but now so far, unless they're slow crawling it for the next 6 weeks, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Because I don't know, they don't have a solid story for him right now. No, they don't. They don't have anything for him right now. I honestly thought it was going to be a cinematic match. Bray Wyatt against all his, the Uncle Howdy, I don't know all their names, man. The Pig. Maybe even Alexa Bliss at some point, but it was going to be a cinematic match to where he has to fight through all of them for the actual Bray Wyatt to emerge victorious. That kind of way I saw when they first debuted it, and all of the characters were there, and then Uncle Howdy, which apparently is Bo Dallas. So if it is Bo Dallas, Sneak Attack 305, yes, that's his real brother. But I just don't know. They did the Undertaker against Bray at WrestleMania already, Frankie. He did that push up on his hands where he was elevated and his back is arched, and he crawled over toward the Undertaker, and the Undertaker sat up and looked at him, and then he stopped. It was a pretty decent match. Frankie asked, what do you think of the press conference WWE's done? I mean, it's one of those things to where they learn from what AEW is doing. I think right now they're starting with just, the basic news conference, press conference type things. But I think sooner or later you're going to end up seeing an AEW Brawl Out, because you can start working storylines from that stuff. They've done it in Japan. After every match, they have the press back there and they do their interviews, and they've had people attack people. I think ultimately they looked at it and they said, you know what, this is something else right now. We just work it short. They have the invited media that they're there. They give the media a chance to talk. I I mean, I think they did like 3 questions each person, and they went with it. And then, you know, again, I think ultimately you're going to see things happen to where, you know, remember when Stone Cold beat Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, and Mike Tyson and Shawn Michaels Mike Tyson and Stone Cold are doing the press conference. Shawn Michaels stormed in. Nobody caught it. WWE cameras were the only ones there. Imagine you're doing that and you have all the, you know, wrestling media and press there and everything else, and now you have somebody slam in. And you do it. You know how many eyes you're going to have on that, different angles you're going to have on that? I think WWE with Triple H and you know, younger eyes on the company, and maybe it has to do with, you know, whoever they have doing creatively, you know, maybe some of the younger producers they've hired, is that you're starting to see more of the social media behind the scenes stuff. You know, they're starting to, like what the Elite did with all their podcasts. You had Being the Elite, right? You have what is it, Ethan Page's vlog. You had Sammy Guevara had a pod. All them, but every one of them was geared behind what was going on behind the scenes in AEW, and at the same time, AEW is planting seeds. Like what WWE is doing right now with the Hurt business behind the scenes. Every time they have somebody cut a promo, you'll see, you know, MVP talking to Shelton Benjamin and you know, just planting little seeds that you see it, and then we'll visit back. We'll visit back. And I think ultimately that's what you're going to see emerge from these press conferences is probably other ways to, you know, he just won the championship. He's talking to somebody. Somebody interrupts him. He's going to set up for the next title defense. What's the story on LA Knight? I don't know, Cap Life, where they're going to go with him, man. I thought they could do more with him, but I don't know where they're going to go with him. I mean, he's one of those guys that you'll remember him just from all the just his shit talking, really. I mean, you remember the character from the shit talking, and that's the one thing. You know, he's the guy that you want to see get beat because of, you know, what I was talking about with Dom. But LA Knight can also work. That's the thing, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I just think they kind of threw him in there with the Bray Wyatt Pitch Black match just for it to make sense, and then also to see the different variances of the Bray Wyatt character with Uncle Howdy and some other stuff. And I'm not sure what's going on with Alexa Bliss. I think she took some time away from the WWE. I think she had an injury or possibly or something. But I don't know if that's storyline driven or if that's legit type thing. I haven't heard either way. But again, at WrestleMania, I honestly thought with the way they debuted everything, it was going to be, you know, a cinematic match of Bray Wyatt against all his inner beings somehow. And but we'll see. This weekend it is Elimination Chamber. My thoughts is Reigns retains the title. I think Austin Theory retains the U.S. title in the men's chamber. I believe Carmella, believe it or not, will end up winning the Raw Elimination Chamber to take on Bianca Belair. And then what else do we have? Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar. I just think something is going to schmoz that, and we see it land back. I thought that match would happen at WrestleMania. I can't believe it's happening now. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. I think this is going to be a disqualification. I don't think the match is ever going to start, and they'll save it for WrestleMania. And then what is the other one? What am I missing? Is there one more match? Can't remember. But anyways, any word on CM Punk? Plug man. there's money to be made, and it'll be interesting to see, because I believe it's all going to end up being a ruse, and you're going to see CM Punk back in AEW. I believe, because I just think there's so much money there, and you would be stupid if you're AEW to not do everything you possibly can to do good with that money. Because right now, again, remember, CM Punk is injured. So as he's doing the injury, there's no need to even talk his name. Just let everything keep going the way it's going now. When he's ready to go, you start going. And again, I thought the reason FTR is off of TV now is because they're going to build up. I think ultimately what you're going to see is you're going to see a young buck taken out here, laying down. A Kenny Omega laid out in the locker room. Maybe some of their cronies laid out somewhere. Every other week, you'll start seeing somebody else laid out. And then ultimately, you'll see the appearance of FTR and CM Punk. And they'll challenge for the Trios titles. That's what I thought at the beginning. And again, that's me and my little fantasy booking, because that's what I would like to see. As CM Punk is getting cleared to wrestle, you start, you don't show them on air. You just start showing people laid out. And it's those guys, the elite, being laid out, and then ultimately it ends up being FTR and CM Punk. Ricochet Logan Paul match when they both flew off the top rope was pretty good. Yeah, that spot was good, but it's also the same spot that Ricochet and Carmelo Hayes did on a match that they had on NXT. But they did. I mean, again, Logan Paul. I said it when he first came on, when he wrestled with the Miz against I think it was against the Mysterios, right? At the wrestle, I was like, man, he's very impressive. He knows what he's doing. He understands. I knew he was athletic, because most of your Pat McAfee's, those guys are athletic. They're gonna do something that's gonna be like, wow, holy shit, I can't believe he just did that. That's gonna happen because these guys are athletic. But Logan Paul also, when I watched him go against Roman Reigns, he understands the philosophy of pro wrestling. And that's something that a lot of people don't pick up. Yeah, you can do a match here and there. But when you understand the philosophy of wrestling, when to turn it up, when to not, when, again, I look back to, I always kind of Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania. Rock was the babyface. Hogan was the heel. They got in the ring, and The Rock could sense that, this is a Hogan crowd. So in that, The Rock ended up turning, not for that match, but he turned himself to be the heel, because he knew no matter what he did in that match, if he was trying to be his babyface self, they were going to do his Die Rocky Die chants. He knew what he had to do. And so did Hogan. So Hogan started doing, the hulking up and the pointing, and he started doing all the Hulk Hogan mannerisms again. They knew it. They felt it. And you can see that Logan Paul gets that. I'm not saying he's there 100%. I'm not saying he doesn't make mistakes in certain things, but he gets it. And again, I don't know if that's because working with Roman Reigns, with Miz, with some of those guys that he's, I know he worked with Shawn Michaels when he was preparing for the WWE match. And can't get much better instructor than that. But, I mean, he's done a lot in a short amount of time. Let's see. Maybe they do a steel cage match. They might, man, because they got to figure out something, some gimmick matches. Anytime Thunder Rosa is back on the AEW Spanish commentary. So I don't know slowly or not if they're going to be bring her back into the ring at all. But right now, she is a new addition to the Spanish commentary for the AEW team. All right, guys, I've been going for about an hour and a half, and I thank you all for being on here. Frankie Cap for Life, Sneak Attack 305, Jamie Zoria, Boss B, of course. Let me see, we got Terry, Josh, Two a Time. All of you, man. If I didn't get you, I apologize. Finn Fan from Cali, I don't know if I called you out. Cap for Life, if I didn't say your name, I apologize. I appreciate you guys always supporting me. Again, every Tuesday night, we're back here, 8 p.m. We'll talk wrestling. A lot going on. We got Dynamite tomorrow night. You got the SmackDown heading into Elimination Chamber Friday. The Elimination Chamber Saturday. Then, of course, you got Raw on Monday. And we're back here Tuesday. So we'll have plenty of wrestling to talk about. And I'm going to try to line up a couple interviews, maybe, possibly, for the next show. We'll see how that goes. But, again, it's great to be back. EWD Jr., thank you, sir. Sorry, I don't think I said you at the beginning. So thank you, guys. It's great to be back. And as always, in the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the Sunshine State.